The medical bay smelled like blood and disinfectant. Dr. Adrian Cross scrubbed his hands for the fourth time that hour, watching pink water spiral down the drain. Another transport had just docked at the Frontier Medical Station, this one carrying refugees from the Ashland Colony massacre. He had already treated 17 patients today. His back ached and his eyes burned from lack of sleep. "We need you in Bay 3, a nurse called out. The urgency in her voice made Adrian move faster. He pushed through the double doors and stopped. On the examination table lay something small and broken. A reptilian child, no bigger than a human toddler, covered in deep blue scales that had lost their shine. His hind legs twisted at wrong angles. Burns covered his wings. Shallow breaths made his chest rise and fall in uneven patterns. "What species?" Adrian asked, pulling on fresh gloves. "Drayan, we think," the nurse replied. "Found him in an escape pod. Alone. Life support was failing." Adrian had never treated a Drayan before. He had never even seen one. But anatomy was anatomy, and broken bones were broken bones. He leaned over the child and watched his eyes flutter open. They were gold, bright like sunrise, and filled with pain that no child should know. "Hey there," he said softly. "I'm going to help you." The hatchling made a sound between a whimper and a hiss. His small clawed hand reached out and gripped Adrian's finger with surprising strength. The station commander walked in, a tall alien with gray skin and too many eyes. "Dr. Cross, I need to speak with you." "Not now," Adrian said, examining the child's legs. Both femurs were shattered. The left tibia had broken through the skin. Internal bleeding was likely. He called out orders for equipment and medication. "Doctor, be reasonable," the commander insisted. "We have limited resources. The prognosis for this patient is extremely poor. We should focus our efforts on those who can actually survive." Adrian looked up sharply. "He is surviving, right now in front of us. His legs are destroyed. Even if he lives, he will never walk. We should make him comfortable and let him pass peacefully." The hatchling's grip on his finger tightened. Those gold eyes stared at him, understanding more than they should. "Get out of my medical bay," Adrian said quietly. "Unless you want to help, get out." The commander's expression hardened. "You are wasting supplies on a lost cause. Then put it in your report. Now leave." After he left, Adrian worked quickly. He set up 4 lines and administered pain medication carefully calculated for the child's size and species. The scanner showed 3 broken ribs, a punctured lung, and severe tissue damage throughout his lower body. Any reasonable doctor would agree with the commander. But Adrian had not become a trauma surgeon by being reasonable. He called in his best surgical team. They worked through the night, repairing what could be repaired and stabilizing what could not. The bones in his legs required metal pins and synthetic supports. His lung needed to be drained and sealed. The burns were treated with regenerative gel. 12 hours later, Adrian sat beside the recovery bed. The hatchling slept, his breathing steady now with the help of oxygen support. He had done everything possible. Whether it would be enough remained to be seen. "You need rest," the nurse told him. "Soon," Adrian promised, though he made no move to leave. The child stirred. His eyes open again, clearer now, with the pain medication working. He looked at Adrian for a long moment, then at his bandaged legs, then back at him. "I know it hurts," he said, "but you're going to be okay." He made a soft sound, almost like a question. "My name is Adrian," he continued. "What's yours?" The hatchling opened his mouth, but no sound came out. His eyes filled with something that looked like tears, though they were silver instead of clear. "That's all right," Adrian said gently. "You don't have to talk yet. How about I give you a name for now? Just until you can tell me your real one." He looked out the viewport at the Ashland system, at the planet below, where colonies had burned. Ash still drifted in the upper atmosphere, visible from orbit. "I'll call you Ash," he said. "Is that okay?" The hatchling blinked slowly. His grip on Adrian's finger relaxed slightly, no longer desperate, just holding on. Over the next 3 days, Ash's condition stabilized. He remained silent, watching everything with those golden eyes. When other doctors examined him, he flinched away. When Adrian entered the room, he relaxed. "His neural responses in the lower limbs are minimal," the head surgeon reported. "Even with our best technology, I don't believe he will regain function. You should prepare for permanent paralysis." Adrian read the charts himself. The damage was severe. The prognosis was grim. Every logical part of his brain agreed with the assessment. But he remembered those gold eyes staring at him, remembered the strength in that small hand, remembered choosing to fight when others said to give up. "We start physical therapy tomorrow," he announced. The other doctors exchanged looks, but said nothing. They had learned not to argue with Adrian Cross once he made a decision. That night, Adrian sat beside Ash's bed again. He pulled up files on drain physiology, finding very little information. The species was rare, private, and mostly kept to themselves in distant systems. "I don't know much about your people," he admitted to the sleeping hatchling. "But I know about not giving up. I know about fighting even when everyone says you can't win. And I know that you are stronger than anyone realizes." Ash's eyes opened. He watched him silently. "Tomorrow we start the hard work," Adrian said. "It's going to hurt. You're going to want to quit. But I promise I will be right here with you, every single step." The hatchling reached out his small hand. Adrian took it gently. Outside the viewport, stars burned in the darkness. Inside the medical bay, a human doctor and the last child of a dying species held on to each other, neither knowing yet just how much they would mean to the galaxy. 3 weeks had passed since Ash arrived at the medical station. Adrian watched him sleep in a modified pediatric bed, his small chest rising and falling steadily. The burns on his wings had healed into silver scars. The broken ribs had mended, but his legs remained motionless beneath the thin blanket. Every morning he checked his reflexes. Every morning the results were the same. No response in the lower limbs. No muscle-activation. No hope, according to everyone else. "Good morning," Adrian said as Ash's eyes opened. He blinked at him, then made a soft chirping sound that he had learned meant he was hungry. He helped him sit up and brought over a nutrient paste that the station biologist had formulated for his species. Ash wrinkled his snout at it, but ate anyway. He had started trusting him enough to try new things. "I have something for you today," Adrian said. He wheeled over a device he had built from spare parts. It looked like a small cart with support bars. "This will help you move around while we work on getting your legs stronger." Ash tilted his head, studying the contraption. His tail, which had also been injured, twitched slightly. Adrian carefully lifted him and positioned him in the mobility device. His useless legs dangled below, while his upper body was supported by padded braces. He showed him how to use his arms to push the wheels. For a moment, Ash just sat there. Then slowly, hesitantly, he pushed. The cart rolled forward a few inches. His eyes went wide. He pushed again. The cart moved. He looked up at Adrian with something he had not seen before in those gold eyes. Joy. Over the next hour, Ash rolled himself around the medical bay, exploring corners he had only seen from his bed. He bumped into equipment and had to back up and try again. He figured out how to turn, how to stop, how to build up speed. Adrian felt his chest tighten watching him. Such a small victory. Such a huge step. "You are doing great," he called out. Ash chirped back at him, a sound that almost resembled laughter. Later that afternoon, Adrian began the physical therapy. He had adapted human pediatric techniques, hoping the principles would transfer. He massaged the scaled legs, working the muscles that had begun to atrophy. He manipulated the joints, keeping them flexible. He used electrical stimulation on the nerves, trying to wake them up. Ash whimpered during some of the exercises. Adrian hated causing him pain, but he pushed through, talking to him constantly. "I broke my arm when I was 7, he told him. Fell out of a tree. Doctors said I might lose full function. My dad made me do therapy every single day. I cried. I yelled. I said I hated him." Ash watched his face as he spoke, but he kept going. "And eventually, my arm healed completely. See," Adrian held up his hand, flexing his fingers. "Never give up," he told me, "even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts." He worked on his left leg, bending the knee slowly. That's what we were doing, never giving up. A month into treatment, an alien arrived at the station. Dr. Raivosh was an anthropologist, tall, an insectoid with multiple compound eyes. He had come to study war trauma effects on different species. Adrian brought him through the medical bay, showing him various patients. When they reached Ash's room, Raivosh stopped moving, all his eyes fixed on the small hatchling rolling around in his mobility cart. "Is that Rivash began, his voice strange. Is it a Drayan child? Yes, Adrian said. His name is Ash. He was injured in the colony attack. Rivash moved closer, his movements jerky. He pulled out a scanning device and began taking readings. His hands shook. What are you doing? Adrian stepped between him and Ash. I need detailed scans. Genetic samples. You do not understand. This is extraordinary. Ash had retreated to the far corner, his eyes wide with fear. You are scaring him, Adrian said firmly. Put the scanner away. But Dr. Cross, you must understand. I understand you are frightening my patient. Leave. Now. Rivash looked like he wanted to argue. Instead, he saved his scan data and left quickly, his body language radiating distress. Adrian went to Ash and knelt beside his cart. It's okay. He's gone. Ash made a low sound, almost like a growl. His small claws gripped the cart handles tightly. I know, Adrian said softly. I did not like him either. That evening, Adrian tried to research why Rivash had reacted so strongly. He searched for information on the Drayan species, but found almost nothing. A few vague references, some restricted files he could not access. It was as if someone had deliberately erased them from public records. The next day, during therapy, something changed. Adrian was working on Ash's right foot, manipulating the toes, when he felt the smallest movement. Not from his manipulation. From him, thought he froze. Ash, did you just move your toe? The hatchling looked down at his foot, concentration clear on his scaled features. The smallest toe twitched that Adrian's heart raced. Do it again. Try again. Ash's whole body tensed with effort. The toe moved again, slightly more this time. Yes, Adrian shouted. You did it. Other medical staff came running. They checked the readings, ran tests, confirmed what Adrian had felt. Minimal nerve response, but response nonetheless. It's not much, the head surgeon said. Don't get your hopes up. But Adrian saw Ash's face, saw the determination there, saw him looking at his toe like it had just performed a miracle. It's everything, he whispered. That night, Ash fell asleep holding Adrian's hand. He sat beside his bed, watching his small body breathe, watching his toe occasionally twitch as he dreamed. Outside, Dr. Rivash's ship departed the station in a hurry. Adrian watched it go through the viewport, feeling uneasy. Something about his reaction gnawed at him. But right now, that did not matter. Right now, a small hatchling had moved his toe. Right now, impossible was becoming possible. Tomorrow we work harder, Adrian promised the sleeping child. Tomorrow we take the next step. Ash's toe twitched in his sleep, as if agreeing that I in the darkness of space. No one yet knew what this small movement meant. No one yet understood that in saving one child, a human doctor was about to change the entire galaxy's understanding of loss and hope. No one knew that the golden-eyed hatchling learning to wiggle his toes was the last echo of an entire civilization. But they would. Soon, everyone would know. 2 months after the first toe movement, Ash stood between parallel bars in the therapy room. His legs trembled violently, barely supporting his weight. Custom braces ran from his hips to his feet, mechanical supports doing most of the work his muscles could not yet manage. Adrian stood at one end of the bars, his arms outstretched. Come on, Ash. You can do this. The hatchling looked at the distance between them. Maybe 3 meters. Might as well have been 3 kilometers. Sweat beaded on his scaled forehead. Despite the cool air, he lifted his right foot. The brace helped, but the movement was his. He swung it forward and set it down. His left leg shook harder, trying to compensate. He shifted his weight and nearly fell. I've got you, Adrian said. Just one more step. Ash gritted his teeth, showing small, sharp fangs. He moved his left foot, then his right again. Each step took enormous concentration. Each step looked painful, but he was walking. That's it, Adrian encouraged. Keep going. 3 more shaking steps brought him close enough. Adrian caught him as his legs gave out, lowering him gently to the padded floor. Ash's breath came in gasps. His whole body shook from exertion. You did it, Adrian said, his voice thick with emotion. You walked. Ash made a sound between a laugh and a sob. He had walked. Not far, not well, but he had moved on his own 2 feet. Something every doctor had said would never happen. Later, after Ash fell asleep from exhaustion, Adrian reviewed his medical files. He had been treating him for almost 3 months now. In that time, he had learned basic things about him. He was smart, learning galactic standard faster than expected. He liked sweet foods. He was scared of loud noises. He had nightmares that woke him screaming in a language Adrian did not understand. But he knew nothing about where he came from. The transport manifests had been destroyed. The escape pod had no records. When Adrian asked Ash about his family, he went silent for days. The station's database had limited information on Dran. They were a private species, rarely leaving their home system. The few images showed being similar to Ash, but fully grown, with magnificent wings and scales that shimmered in sunlight. Peaceful. Scholars. Artists. Why had their colony been attacked? Where were the other survivors? A priority message appeared on Adrian's terminal. The Galactic Heritage Council was sending a delegation to the station. They would arrive in 3 days. They requested to see the Dran child. Adrian felt cold dread settle in his stomach. He forwarded the message to the station commander and went back to check on Ash. He slept curled in his bed, his wings tucked close. So small, so vulnerable. Whatever the Heritage Council wanted, Adrian knew with absolute certainty that he would not let anyone hurt him. The next day, Adrian tried to learn more. He sent requests for information about Dran. Most came back with access denied. The few responses he got were vague. The species was rare, very private. No current population data available. That last part bothered him. No current data? Why? He was running through archived news reports when he found it. A brief mention, 6 months old. Conflict in the Dran home system. Communication blackout. No follow-up reports. 6 months ago. Around the time Ash's transport had been attacked. Adrian, a voice called. He looked up to find Ash in his mobility cart. He had gotten much better at using it. Racing around the medical bay like other children ran in playgrounds. Hey there, he said, forcing a smile. You should be resting. Ash rolled closer. He had started speaking more, his voice soft and musical. Bad dreams. Want to talk about it? He shook his head. Then, hesitantly, where is home? Adrian's chest tightened. I don't know, sweetheart. We're trying to find out. Everyone gone, Ash said quietly. I remember. Fire. Screaming. Mother put me in pod. She said wait. I waited. Adrian knelt beside the cart. Your mother saved you. Why only me? Gold eyes stared at him. Where is everyone else? I don't know, Adrian admitted. But the people coming in 3 days might have answers. They're from a council that keeps records of different species. Ash's scales rippled. A sign he had learned meant fear. Don't want to go. Go where? Away. They take me away from you. Adrian pulled him into a careful hug. No one is taking you anywhere. I promise. But even as he said it, he wondered if he could keep that promise. The Heritage Council delegation arrived exactly on schedule. 5 ships, armed escorts, more firepower than seemed necessary for visiting one small hatchling. Adrian met them in the station's conference room. The lead ambassador was a being called Trell, humanoid, but with silver skin and too many fingers. His expression was difficult to read. Dr. Cross, he began, thank you for meeting with us. Where are the other Dran? Adrian asked bluntly. Why is Ash alone? Trell exchanged glances with the other council members. Perhaps we should speak privately. Anything you have to say, you can say here. Very well. Trell pulled up a holographic display. It showed a star system. This was the Dran home world. Population approximately 40,000. 6 months ago, extremist factions attacked without warning. The entire planet was bombarded from orbit. The hologram showed destruction. Cities burning. Continents scarred. Evacuation attempts were made. Trell continued. 17 transport ships escaped. All were destroyed en route to safe zones. No survivors were found. Adrian felt sick. Except Ash. Except the child, yes. We received Dr. Rivash's report. We ran genetic scans from his samples. The hatchling in your care is indeed Dran. Based on our records, he is the last living member of his species. The words hit like physical blows. The last. The only one. That is why we are here, Trell said. The Dran were an ancient civilization. Their loss is incalculable. We must preserve what remains. Ash is not a thing to be preserved, Adrian said sharply. He is a child. a child who represents the final remnant of his people. We have facilities designed for such cases. He will be cared for, studied, his genetic material preserved for possible future. No. Trell stopped. Excuse me. No, Adrian repeated. You are not taking him to be studied like some museum specimen. He is a living being with feelings and thoughts and dreams, not a sample to be preserved. Dr. Cross, you do not understand the significance. I understand perfectly. You want to take a traumatized child and lock him away because he is rare, because he is the last. But that does not change what he needs. He needs a home. He needs family. He needs someone who sees him as more than a genetic database. And you believe he can provide this? Trell's tone suggested doubt. I know I can, Adrian said. I have been providing it for 3 months. The Draen live for centuries. You are human. You will die in mere decades. Then we have decades together. That is more than he has with anyone else. The council members spoke quietly among themselves. Adrian waited, heart pounding. Finally, Trell spoke. The council will take this matter under consideration. In 3 days, we will give our decision. After they left, Adrian went straight to Ash. He was in the therapy room, practicing his steps between the bars. When he saw his face, he stopped. What's wrong? He asked. Adrian knelt beside him. We need to talk. Ash sat very still as Adrian explained. His gold eyes grew wider with each sentence. The last of his kind. Everyone dead. The council wanted to take him away. When he finished, he did not cry. He just stared at his hands, at his scaled fingers, as if seeing them for the first time. Everyone, he whispered finally. I'm so sorry, Adrian said. Mother, father, my sister, my teachers, everyone, yes. Ash's breathing quickened. His scales began to shift colors, darkening from blue to almost black. Why am I alive? Why just me? Because your mother loved you enough to save you. Because you were strong enough to survive. I don't want to be the last. His voice cracked. I don't want to be alone. Adrian pulled him close. You are not alone. I am here. They will take me away. Put me in a cage. Study me. Not if I can help it. How can you stop them? They have ships. Soldiers. Authority. Adrian pulled back to look at him. I can fight. Humans are very good at fighting for things that matter. Over the next 2 days, Adrian prepared. He compiled every record of Ash's treatment and progress. He documented his personality, his intelligence, his capacity for joy and learning. He gathered statements from everyone who had interacted with him. The station commander called him to his office. You are planning to oppose the Heritage Council, he said. Not a question. I am planning to advocate for what is best for Ash. They have legal authority in these matters. And I have moral authority as his doctor. The commander studied him. You care deeply for this child. Ido. Enough to risk your career? Your reputation? Enough to risk everything. He was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. I will testify on your behalf, for what little my word may be worth. Adrian blinked in surprise. You wanted to euthanize him when he arrived. I was wrong. The commander said simply. I have watched you work. I have seen what you have achieved. More importantly, I have seen how that child looks at you. He trusts you completely. That is worth more than any council decree. On the 3rd day, the hearing convened in the station's main assembly hall. The Heritage Council sat in judgment, with Ambassador Trell presiding. Ash sat beside Adrian, his small hand gripping as tightly. He wore a simple tunic that Adrian had made for him, adapted for his wings and tail. We have reviewed the case, Trell began. The council recognizes Dr. Cross's dedication to preserving the life of the Draen child. However, dedication alone does not qualify one to be the guardian of the last member of an extinct species. Endangered, Adrian corrected. Not extinct. As long as Ash lives, the Draen are not extinct. A semantic distinction. An important one. You're talking about him like he is already gone. Like he is just a memory to be archived. But he is sitting right here, breathing, thinking, feeling. Another council member spoke up. The facilities we have designed are state-of-the-art. The child would receive the best care, the best education, isolated from everyone. Adrian interrupted. Studied like a specimen. You're talking about a childhood spent in laboratories, surrounded by scientists taking samples and running tests. Is that really the best care? It is necessary for preservation of his genetic heritage. What about preserving his mental health? His emotional development? The Draen were not just bodies and DNA. They were people with culture, with art, with traditions. How will Ash learn those things in a sterile facility? Trell frowned. We have extensive records of Draen culture. Records are not the same as living. You cannot learn to be a person from files and databases. Adrian stood, still holding Ash's hand. Let me tell you what I know about humans. We are short-lived compared to most species. We are fragile. We make mistakes. But we understand something fundamental that I think many older species have forgotten. He looked directly at Trell. We understand that life is not about preservation. It is about living. Every single day we exist knowing we will die. Knowing our time is limited. And that makes us value every moment, every connection, every chance to grow and learn and love. Beautiful words, Trell said. But how does that qualify you to raise a Draen child? Because I see Ash as a child, not as a specimen. Because I have spent 3 months helping him heal, not just his body, but his spirit. Because when he has nightmares, I am there. When he takes his first steps, I celebrate. When he asks questions, I answer honestly. Adrian pulled up the medical records on the display. Every doctor said Ash would never walk. They said I was wasting resources. But look at this. He showed footage of Ash walking between the parallel bars. He is walking because someone believed in him, because someone fought for him. Ash stood up, wobbling slightly. Using the braces Adrian had made, he took slow steps toward the council. Every movement was careful, painful, determined. I can walk, he said in his soft voice. Adrian helped me. He never gave up. He turned to face them fully. I know I am a last. I know my people are gone. It hurts every day, but Adrian makes it hurt less. He teaches me. He cares. Trell watched the small hatchling standing there, trembling with effort, but refusing to sit. What would you have us do, child? Let me stay with him. Please. I don't want to be in a facility. I want a home. And what of your heritage? Your culture? How will you learn the ways of the Draen? Teach me, Ash said. Send teachers. Send records. I will learn everything. But let me learn while living a real life. Let me have a family. The council members conferred quietly. Minutes passed. Ash's legs began to shake from standing so long. Adrian wanted to help him sit, but knew he needed to stand on his own for this. Finally, Trell spoke. The council proposes a compromise. Dr. Cross will be granted provisional guardianship of the child. A cultural liaison will be provided to ensure Draen heritage is preserved and taught. Every 6 months, we will review the arrangement. And if you decide I am not suitable, Adrian asked, then we will reassess. But Trell paused. I will be honest, doctor. What you have achieved with this child is remarkable. The fact that he can walk when all medical predictions said otherwise speaks to your dedication. The fact that he trusts you, that he advocates for you, speaks even more. He looked at Ash, who had finally sat down, exhausted. Perhaps the best way to honor the Draen is not to preserve their last child in stasis, but to let him live fully, to let him grow, to let him prove that even in ending, there can be new beginnings. Adrian felt tears on his cheeks. Thank you. Do not thank us yet. The responsibility you have accepted is immense. You're not just raising a child. You are carrying the legacy of an entire species. I know, Adrian said quietly, and I will do everything in my power to honor that. Ash looked up at him with those gold eyes. We will do it together, he said. Adrian smiled. Together. The hearing ended. The council left, and in the assembly hall, a human doctor and the last Draen child sat together, both knowing the hard work was only beginning, both ready to face it anyway. 6 months had changed everything. Adrian stood in the doorway of their small home on the colony world called Haven's Rest. Through the window, he could see Ash running across the garden, his legs stronger now, though he still wore lighter support braces. No more mobility card. No more parallel bars. Just a young Draen racing after a local insect, laughing. The Heritage Council had kept their word. A cultural liaison, a gentle being named Seraph, visited twice a week to teach Ash about Draen history, language, and traditions. The home planet might be gone, but the culture could live on through him. Adrian had left the medical station to focus on Ash full-time. The colony world was peaceful, with good schools and open spaces. Other families lived nearby, though none quite understood what it meant to raise the last of species. Adrian, Ash called. Come see. He walked out to find him holding the insect carefully in his clawed hands. It has 6 wings, he said excitedly. 6. Amazing. Adrian agreed. He released it and watched it fly away. Then his expression grew thoughtful. Seraph says Drain adults could fly. Really fly, not just glide. Yes, Adrian said carefully. They had been approaching this topic slowly. My wings are growing, Ash continued. He stretched them out. They were larger now, the membrane stronger, though still scarred from his injuries. Do you think I can learn? I think you can do anything you set your mind to. But I'm different now. The scars, the braces. Maybe I'm not a real Drain anymore. Adrian knelt to his eye level. You are absolutely real. Scars do not make you less. They make you a survivor. The last survivor, Ash said quietly. It still hurt him, he could tell. Probably always would. Does that scare you? He thought about it. Sometimes. Sarah showed me records of Drain gatherings. Hundreds of us together, singing in harmony. Now it's just me. I'll never hear that sound. I know, but he looked at him. I have you. And Seraph. And the neighbors who bring us food, even though I'm strange to them. And my teacher at school who doesn't treat me different even though I am. So maybe being the last is not the same as being alone. Adrian hugged him. You are very wise for someone so young. Seraph says wisdom was a Drain trait. She says I carry my people's best qualities. You carry their strength too, and their resilience. That evening, Seraph arrived for their lesson. Adrian usually gave them privacy, but today, Seraph asked him to stay. I have been authorized to present something, the liaison said. She projected a hologram of an ancient Drain text. This is the Scroll of Wings. Every young Drain studied it when learning to fly. Ash stared at the symbols, which he was learning to read. You think I can learn? I think you should try. Flying was fundamental to Drain identity. You deserve to experience it. But my wings, Ash spread them, showing the scars. They are damaged. So were your legs, Adrian pointed out. That did not stop you from walking. Over the next weeks, Seraph taught Ash the basics. How to strengthen the wing muscles. How to understand air currents. How to position his body for lift. They started small, with Ash jumping from low heights and gliding down. Adrian watched every attempt, his heart in his throat. He had consulted with specialists, ensuring the training was safe. But watching Ash leap into the air still terrified him. You are hovering, he called out as he jumped from a 2-meter platform. That was almost flying. Ash landed in a controlled tumble, grinning. Did you see? I stayed up for 3 whole seconds. His determination reminded Adrian of his early walking attempts. The same fierce concentration. The same refusal to accept limitations. One afternoon, Ash came to him with a serious expression. I need to talk to you about something. They sat together on the porch. What's on your mind? At school, the other kids ask about my family. About where I come from. He picked at his scales nervously. I don't know what to say. What do you want to say? The truth feels too big. Too sad. I don't want them to feel sorry for me. But lying feels wrong too. Adrian considered this. You could tell them you are from far away. That your birth family is gone, but you have a new family now. All of that is true. Are you my family? Ash asked quietly. Really? Even though we are different species. Family is not about biology, Adrian said firmly. It is about who shows up, who cares, who fights for you when things are hard. By that measure, you are absolutely my family. Ash leaned against him. You are mine too. They sat in comfortable silence. Then Ash said, I want to tell them about the Drain. Not the sad parts, the good parts. Seraph says my people were artists and philosophers. They built beautiful cities. They wrote poetry about stars. That sounds perfect. Will you help me prepare something? Maybe for the school cultural day. Of course. They worked together on a presentation. Ash shared Drain art, music preserved in old records, and poems translated into galactic standard. Adrian helped him practice speaking in front of others. On Cultural Day, Ash stood before his class wearing traditional Drain ceremonial marks that Seraph had helped paint on his scales. He was nervous but spoke clearly. My people are called the Drain, he began. They're gone now, but I remember them through what they left behind. He showed images of Drain architecture, soaring towers that seemed to defy gravity. He played recordings of Drayan music, harmonies that made several students cry. He recited a poem in his native language, then translated it. Stars are memories that never fade, he said. Each light is someone who came before. When we look up, we are never truly alone. After his presentation, the teacher approached Adrian. That was remarkable. You should be very proud. I am, Adrian said, watching Ash answer questions from curious classmates. Every single day. That night, Ash could not sleep. He came to Adrian's room and sat on the edge of his bed. I want to try something tomorrow. What's that? Real flying. Not gliding. Flying. Adrian felt fear spike in his chest. Are you sure you are ready? I don't know, but I need to try. Seraph says flight was how Drayan connected with their world, how they understood their place in things. I need to understand too. Then we will try, Adrian promised. Together. The next day, they went to the training grounds Seraph had set up. It included a high platform overlooking a valley with strong updrafts. Ash stood at the edge, wings spread. Remember your training, Seraph instructed. Feel the air. Trust your instincts. Ash looked back at Adrian. He saw fear in his golden eyes, but also determination. I can do this. I know you can, Adrian said. And if you fall, I will be right here to catch you. Ash smiled. Then he stepped off the platform. For a heart-stopping moment, he dropped. Adrian gasped, but then his wings caught the air. He wobbled, dipped, recovered. His wing muscle strained. The scarred membranes held. And then, miraculously, he rose. Ash climbed higher, his movements becoming more confident. He banked left, then right. He rode the updrafts exactly as Seraph had taught him. I'm flying, he shouted. Adrian, I'm really flying. Adrian watched through tears as the last Drayan soared against the sky, his blue scales catching sunlight, his wings spread wide. He was not gliding. He was truly flying. He stayed up for nearly 10 minutes before gliding down to a gentle landing. His legs shook from adrenaline and exhaustion. Adrian ran to him and pulled him into a tight embrace. You did it, he whispered. You really did it. I flew, Ash said wonderingly. Like my parents. Like all the Drayan before me. They will be so proud of you. Ash looked up at the sky where he had just been. I felt them, he said softly. While I was flying, I felt like they were with me, showing me the way. They are always with you, Adrian said. In everything you do, everything you are, they live on. Ash nodded. Then he spread his wings again, examining them with new appreciation. I want to teach others to fly. Someday. Maybe other species who struggle like I did. That is a beautiful dream. Adrian, Ash looked at him seriously. Thank you for not giving up on me. When I was broken. When everyone said I would never walk or fly. Thank you for believing. Thank you for proving them all wrong, Adrian replied. For showing everyone what is possible when you refuse to accept impossible. As the sun set over Haven's Rest, a human doctor and the last Drayan child walked home together, both knowing that tomorrow would bring new challenges, both ready to face them side by side. 2 years had passed since that first flight. Ash was taller now, his scales deeper blue, his wings powerful enough to carry him for hours. He still wore light braces on his legs, probably always would, but they barely slowed him down. Adrian watched from his office window as Ash worked with a group of young aliens in the courtyard. The Heritage Council had approved his proposal to establish a rehabilitation center on Haven's Rest. Now children from across the sector came to learn what Ash had learned, that broken did not mean hopeless, that a small Kelvin child, her lower appendages paralyzed from birth, struggled with a mobility device similar to the one Ash had used years ago. Ash knelt beside her, speaking softly, showing her how to navigate the controls. It gets easier, he said in fluent galactic standard. I promise. The child looked at his leg braces. Did you use one of these? I did. For a long time. Now I use these supports instead. Everyone's journey is different. Another child, a mammalian species with damaged wings, approached nervously. Can you really teach me to fly? Even with my injuries? Ash spread his own scarred wings. See these? Doctor said I would never use them. Now I fly every day. Your wings are different, but we will find a way. Adrian felt his chest tighten with pride. Ash had taken everything he learned, all his pain and struggle, and transformed it into purpose. He spent his mornings and lessons with Seraph, learning about Drayan culture and history. His afternoons were dedicated to helping others. Seraph appeared beside Adrian. He is remarkable. The council made the right choice, allowing him to stay with you. We made the right choice together, Adrian corrected. Indeed, Seraph paused. I have news. The council wishes to establish a Drayan cultural archive here, with Ash as the primary curator when he comes of age. They believe this center, this place of healing, is the perfect location to preserve his people's legacy. What does Ash think? I have not told him yet. I wanted your approval first. Adrian smiled. He does not need my approval. He is old enough to make these decisions himself. That evening, Seraph presented the proposal to Ash. He listened carefully, his tail twitching the way it did when he was thinking hard. An archive, he said slowly. So other species can learn about the Drayan? Yes. Your people's art, philosophy, science, all preserved and shared. You would not just be the last Drayan. You would be the bridge between your people and the future. Ash looked at Adrian. What do you think? I think it is your choice. What do you want? He was quiet for a long moment. I used to hate being the last. It felt like carrying a weight too heavy for anyone. But maybe, he paused, choosing his words carefully, maybe being the last means I could be the first to. The first to share Drayan wisdom in a new way. The first to prove that endings can also be beginnings. That is very philosophical, Seraph noted approvingly. Very Drayan. I will do it, Ash decided. But not alone. This center helps people because of what Adrian taught me. The archive should teach that too. That compassion matters. That refusing to give up matters. That is part of my heritage now, both Drayan and human. Adrian felt tears threatening. You honor both your peoples. I am both, Ash said simply. The Drayan made me, but you shaped who I became. Later that night, Ash found Adrian on the porch, watching the stars. He sat beside him in comfortable silence. Do you ever regret it? He asked. Taking me in? Your life would have been simpler without me. Simpler is not the same as better, Adrian said. You are the best part of my life, Ash. You always have been. I had a dream last night about my mother. She was teaching me to fly, like she must have done before everything happened. When I woke up, I could almost remember her voice. What did she sound like? Like wind chimes. Musical. She sang constantly. He looked up at the stars. I wish I could tell her I learned to fly, that I didn't waste the chance she gave me. She knows, Adrian said softly. Wherever she is, whatever comes after, she knows her child survived. She knows you are strong and kind and determined. She knows her sacrifice mattered. Ash leaned against his shoulder. Thank you for being my family. Thank you for being mine. They sat together under the stars, a human and a Drayan, each one carrying pieces of the other's world. Months later, the cultural archive opened. Beings from across the galaxy came to learn about the Drayan. They saw the art, heard the music, read the poetry. But more importantly, they met Ashdod. He gave tours personally, sharing stories Seraph had taught him alongside his own experiences. Visitors left understanding that the Drayan were not just history. They were alive in every word Ash spoke, every flight he took, every child he helped rehabilitate. One day, an elderly scholar approached Ash with tears streaming down her face. I knew a Drayan once, decades ago. A teacher who changed my life. I never got to thank her properly. I thought your people were just gone, leaving nothing behind. Ash took her hand gently. They left me, and through me, they left their words and wisdom and beauty. Your teacher's legacy continues. Tell me about her. They talked for hours. The scholar shared memories. Ash recorded them for the archive. Another piece of Drayan history preserved. That night, Adrian found Ash standing in the archive, surrounded by artifacts and records of his people. Are you all right? He asked. I am more than all right, he said. For so long, I carried survivor's guilt. Why me? Why was I the only one who made it? But now I understand. Understand what? I survived so my people could continue. Not genetically, maybe. The Drayan as a species might end with me. But their ideas, their art, their way of seeing the universe, those can live forever. I can make sure of that. He turned to face him. You saved more than my life, Adrian. You saved theirs too, by helping me walk, helping me fly, helping me become someone who could carry this legacy forward. The drain survived because a human doctor refused to give up. We did it together, Adrian reminded him. Everything important happens together. Ash agreed. Years continued to pass. The rehabilitation center grew. The archive expanded. Ash became known across the sector not as the last Drayan, but as the teacher who helped countless beings overcome impossible obstacles. He never forgot his first lessons, the parallel bars in the medical bay, Adrian's patient voice encouraging him step by painful step. Now he offered the same patience to others. On the anniversary of his first flight, Ash stood at the same platform where he had learned to soar. Adrian stood beside him, older now, his hair touched with gray. "Want to fly with me?" Ash asked. Adrian laughed. "I am human. We do not have wings." "Details," Ash said. He had designed a harness system for exactly this purpose. "Trust me, always." They launched together, Ash's powerful wings keeping them both aloft. Adrian had trusted him with his future years ago. Now he trusted him with his life, suspended in the sky by his strength. From above, the rehabilitation center looked small but vital. Children moved through the courtyards, learning and healing. The archive stood proud, preserving memories of a people gone, but not forgotten. "What do you see?" Ash asked as they glided. "Hope," Adrian answered. "I see hope. Me too. I see the future the Drayan would have wanted. Not isolation, not extinction, but transformation. We end, but our best parts continue in new forms." They flew together until the sun began to set, painting the sky in colors that reminded Ash of his mother's scales, colors he had only seen in dreams and old recordings. When they landed, a group of children rushed over, eager to hear about the flight. Ash knelt among them, his wings folded, his leg braces visible, every scar and imperfection on display. "Who wants to learn to fly tomorrow?" he asked. Every hand shot up. Adrian watched Ash work, watch him give these children the same gift he had given him: belief, persistence, the absolute refusal to accept that broken meant finished. The last Drayan was not an ending after all. He was a beginning, a bridge between what was and what could be, a living reminder that compassion, determination, and love could transform tragedy into purpose. As the stars emerged overhead, the same stars Drayan poets had written about for millennia. Ash looked up and smiled. He was the last, yes, but he was also the keeper of memories, the teacher of hope, the living proof that one life, saved by kindness, could honor an entire civilization. And beside him stood a human doctor who had refused to let impossible be the final word, who had chosen to fight for one small life, and in doing so had preserved the legacy of thousands. Together, they walked back to the center, surrounded by children from a dozen worlds, all learning the same lesson Ash had learned in a medical bay years ago. Never give up, even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts, because sometimes the last can become the first, and sometimes saving one life saves so much more.